my psyche wasn't telling me anything. Basically, it wasn't talking to me because my psyche did not trust me anymore. One of the things I struggled with, this was even before I had my burnout, well before I knew anything about being neurodivergent and the way my brain worked. I could not tell what career path that I wanted to be on. I could not tell where my interest actually lied. You know how they talk about, oh, discover your passions and then let's build a career surrounding your passions, or what are your talents? And everyone's always talking about different talents. People can sing, people can dance. That seems to be all the talents people could talk about. And some people were like, oh, this person can write. And I just, there were all sorts of talents there, and I could not identify with any one of them. And I did not see myself as having any talent. I tried and I tried and I struggled a lot. And that scared me because even though I was in school, I was in vet school at the time, and I just knew that I did not have half as much interest in it as I should have. Even the interest that I had that pushed me into going to vet school in the first place seemed to just disappear. Now I understand why all of that happened. I understand what it had to do with the burnout, it had to do with, it also, there was part of it had to do with, vet medicine not actually being what I was supposed to do. Many neurodivergent people love animals and we feel for animals and we like their companionship. And because of that, many of us dream of becoming vets, veterinarians, vet doctors, vet nurses, vet technicians, people who work with animals in general. And for some people, it actually works out. That's what they actually feel passionate about long term, and that's what they do. For some of us, it's not actually what we end up realizing we're supposed to do. Like for me, even though I don't work in that field anymore, knowing now what I know, if I were to go and do it all over again and I still wanted to work in that field, I would not study vet medicine. I would study maybe wildlife conservation, or something about animal rights, or something in that realm, something that has to do with fighting for the rights of animals, against animal cruelty, something that has to do with maybe conservation of endangered species, something that has to do with proper treatment of animals, something in that realm, because I know that the interest I have in animals is actually along those lines of really hating it when animals are treated badly and loving it when animals are treated right. If I were to actually go to school for that and to actually want to work in that, that's what I would do, not vet medicine, because vet medicine ended up seeming too abstract for me, and it's not too abstract for me obviously, but it did not, there was something about it that was just not properly aligned with that interest I had. There might be somebody watching this and who may be in that space where they're thinking, should I go and be a vet doctor? Should I? I'm trying to just share more of my experience so that it might help give you some perspective. Anyway, I could not find anything to be passionate about, and I was so afraid of being a mediocre person. At the time, mediocrity to me meant that I would just go through life without feeling passionate about anything, without really being interested in anything, and I would just work at a job that I hated, that did not give me any fulfillment, any sense of joy, any sense of happiness, and I would just do that for the rest of my life. I thought I was doomed to that, and I was so scared because just the idea of living a life like that was terrifying to me. It was, it seemed like a nightmare to me, and I really did not want that. As a matter of fact, I believe that when we were signing our yearbook, when we had to answer a bunch of questions, one of the questions was like, what is one of your greatest fears? And I believe one of the greatest fears I wrote was to be mediocre in life, and this was actually what I was referring to, just going through life without doing something I'm wildly passionate about. And what I've been able to realize about it is, I did not know those things about myself. Obviously, I've talked about my burnout on the channel multiple times, but one of the reasons I did not know that much about myself was the fact that I had spent my entire life, basically up until that point, denying things about myself, denying my inner thoughts, denying my inner desires, denying my just the actual feelings that I had, and not allowing myself to like things or dislike things based on what I actually like or dislike. Actually made myself like things and dislike things based on what I thought I was supposed to based on what I thought society wanted me to like and dislike. Okay. And because I had done that basically my entire life up until that point, I was about 21, 22 years old. My psyche wasn't telling me anything, basically, it wasn't talking to me because my psyche did not trust me anymore because I had denied it for over 2 decades of my life. My psyche wasn't talking to me anymore. And so I had to begin from scratch to begin to know things about myself. If you're in that situation, if you're in that position where you genuinely cannot think of anything you like to do with your life, if you don't know what you're passionate about, you don't know what your talents are, you don't know what your interests are, I've realized that it's because, probably because if you are like me, your psyche probably doesn't trust you anymore. So you're going to have to do work, start from the beginning and do work to get to know yourself from scratch, from, all over again. Gain the trust of your psyche once more so that your brain can actually tell you things. Your brain, your psyche, your brain, your spirit needs to feel safe with you. And right now they don't feel safe with you. And so it's not going to tell you anything because it knows you're just going to dismiss it the way you've done your entire life. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is what I wish I had known then is you don't have to continue on the path that you are on. So if I had gone back to tell myself back then in vet school, yes, I would have allowed myself, I would have told myself, finish vet school. I don't believe in quitting except when you cannot cope anymore, when you genuinely cannot cope anymore. But if you can cope, if you can function to a certain extent, even if you're not wildly happy or joyous or anything, then there's no point in cutting things halfway or quitting halfway. So if you're on a career path and let's say you're in school trying to study or you're in training for something and you've realized that you have no interest, you have no passion for it, try to finish it if you can. Okay, except if you genuinely cannot cope. I have quit a program before, a postgraduate program, because I could not cope. I just went back into that horrible state again. I started falling sick. I just, no. So I just had to quit. I could not do it anymore. So I'm this person saying try to finish, but I'm also the person saying if you can cope. If you cannot cope, I don't believe in killing yourself because you're trying to finish your training. Okay, you don't have to limit yourself to thinking within the box that you've been put in or that you've put yourself in. Doesn't matter who put you there. The point is you're within a box. You don't have to limit yourself to thinking within that realm. You don't have to limit yourself to thinking you're supposed to do something in line with something you studied in school or some kind of training you received or something even associated with that training that you got. Right? It does not have to be that way. You don't have to limit yourself to thinking like that. You can think anything. Anything. Allow yourself to think of anything. That leads me to the third thing, and the third thing is I would tell myself to approach the issue of choosing a career from a logical standpoint. And what I mean is, what is a desire I have? What is a dream I have? Not a dream related to the kind of career I want. Start with your dream and then work back and figure out different career paths that are best going to help you get to that dream. Okay, different career paths in life. Forget about whatever training you have, whatever degree you have, whatever course you're studying. Forget about that for a moment. Push all that aside and just think and just do your research. And then from that, you can figure out which one you're capable of doing. So if my dream, for instance, is to have a private yacht so that I can sail on the seas because I've always wanted to learn how to sail. Not that I have. I would think, okay, I need to make a lot of money to be able to afford that yacht, right? And to make a lot of money, I would have to pick a kind of job. And to get that kind of job, I would have to, you know, pick the right kind of job that can give me money enough to be able for me to be able to afford this yacht in whatever number of years. Okay. And then I would say, okay, what are the kinds of jobs that can allow me to be able to afford something like that before I'm 80 years old? I'm going to do a lot of research and then I'm going to sit down and say, okay, based on what I know about myself, based on what I know about some of the things that have interested me, based on what I know about the things that I think I was good at in school and I am good at now, and that my brain is ready to receive, etc. And the kind of personality I have and the things that are important to me in life now that I know about myself. What are some of the what careers or what are some of those jobs that I am actually capable of doing? Remember that I've not said anything about your passion or your interest or your talent or forget that. What are some of those things that I'm capable of doing? Say if I need to work as a financial advisor, for instance, if that's one of those things, do I do I understand mathematics? Do I have a head for numbers? Am I organized? Etc. 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 Or can I work around it? I don't have to be perfect at it. I don't have to be 110% at mathematics or at numbers, but am I capable of doing it? If I'm capable of doing it, if I'm not too bad at it, then maybe I can consider that. Put it in a to be considered basket, right? And then let's say something else requires a lot of geography, or maybe I hate geography and just thinking about it causes me to break out in hives. I'll put it in the dustbin pile, right? Do like that, and then you calm down, you'll be able to reduce your options, and then from those options you can go on and pick and select till you'll be able to come down to the one that suits you, and then just choose that as a career path and go for it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And this is something, what I'm sharing here is something that I wish somebody had told me back then, because it's a very painful place to be when you're, especially when you're in school or you're receiving training and everybody else seems to have figured out what they're going to do, what they're interested in, what their hobbies are, what their talents are, and it all seems seamless for them and they seem to have it all figured out. And you are floundering in your head, you seem lost, and there's nobody that can understand, or you think there's nobody that can understand. Even when you do talk to people, they show you from their response that they cannot understand because they just keep asking you, well, what are you interested in? I don't know what I'm interested in. Okay, well, what are you passionate about? I don't know what I'm passionate about. Okay, well, what talent do you have? I don't have a talent. I don't know what my talent is, right? It's very painful. And then they think, oh, you're unserious, or you're just trying to make things difficult for them, or you're just trying to be, give them a hard time or whatever, or you're just not digging deep enough. And they'll go, dig deeper and then let's do this exercise. It's just not working. Okay, what I wish somebody had told me is to approach things from a logical perspective. And hey, you know what? By the time you decide to get on that career path that you chose, don't think too hard about it. Once you follow the steps I mentioned, you pick that career path, figure out how you can get into it, figure out the finances, figure out the resources you're that are available to you. And then when you figure that and you get on that path, if you realize that you've spent some time and you've actually tried, because it might be difficult at first, you figure out that you really cannot handle it. You thought you could handle it, but now you really cannot handle it. That's all right. Pull back and pick another one and try another one. If that doesn't work, that's okay. Pull back and try another one and keep trying until you get one that you're actually capable of. Again, I'm not saying you have to be 100% at it. If you can get your pass mark, if you can actually speak about it reasonably, if you understand what's going on there and you can actually do something about it and can actually be good at it, then you found something that you want to do. And in addition to that, it does not have to be something that you will do for the rest of your life. These are some of those things that like I said, I wish they would teach us in school. I wish that, somebody would have understood, that state to be in and would have put me through so that I would not have gone through just the mental pain and the psychological pain and stress and struggle that I had to deal with before I was able to get to that point. And that, it took me years to be able to figure it out. And hopefully, if you're in that situation, then you can use this cheat code, this hack that I'm giving you, so that you won't have to go through what I went through and you won't have to spend as many years as I spent trying to figure it out. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. If you have any questions for me, please let me know in the comment section below. Or you can send me an email at askdrzane@gmail.com. You can find the email on my channel page. Thank you. Once more, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. And I will see you next time. Ciao.